All right. Thank you everybody for joining. This is Brendan calling to you from Portsmouth, New Hampshire. As you can see, we've got a nice lineup of panelists on the call as well. We'll get to introductions in a minute. So today's webinar is focused on Microsoft Teams Voice by 8x8 and deploying Microsoft Teams rooms. DGI is going to be speaking for just about half the webinar, 8x8 for the first half, and we're going to hopefully share some great content about how to implement what is a very new product to Microsoft, which is Microsoft Teams Voice and Teams Rooms. Presenter Scott, do you want to say hello? Scott, Mark, and O'Sheen.
Yep, sure. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining. Scott Bryan with Macronet.
I'll second that. Thanks for joining, everyone. Mark Rue here from DGI Communications.
And O'Sheen Glenn here from 8x8. Great to be here with everyone.
All right. So agenda for the presentation today, we're going to spend a couple of minutes just talking about who is Macronet and what are our solutions for Microsoft Teams. And then we're going to jump right into the presentation by O'Sheen, presentation by DGI, and then a client success story, and then followed by Q&A. So a little bit about Macronet and the solutions we provide for clients in the enterprise space. So Macronet's a independent consultant and telecom agent representing over 300 different service providers, 2 of which are on the call. And our goal is to deliver a full end-to-end solution for our clients for a wide range of technology solutions, from wide area network to cloud PBX and contact center and collaboration rooms. So as it relates to Microsoft Teams and the solution that we've kind of designed and built for many different clients at this point is really starting with foundational transformations to the wide area network, which Scott will share with you in a minute, and then migrating from on-prem legacy PBX systems like Avaya, Cisco, ShoreTel, and Mitel to a cloud PBX solution, either with Microsoft Teams or another third party integrated to Microsoft Teams, and then delivering a one-touch join experience in the conference room collaboration rooms, which we'll get into. Scott, do you want to spend a couple minutes talking about next generation WAN transformation?
Sure. Yep. And thanks everybody for joining. So like Brendan mentioned, we represent over 300 different service providers. So at any given time, we're involved in cycles of designing global wide area networks. So a lot of that is when we talk to CIOs, typically their goal is improve the end user experience. That's usually the #1 goal. And then second goal is usually to gain applications visibility and control. When you combine the SD-WAN technology with the applications control and capabilities of a solution like 8x8, you really have a next generation type of solution. So just briefly, typically what we do through the process is we work with them to classify their site types. So you see that we have a gold site that might be a global headquarters location. Silver site might be a smaller remote office. Bronze site would be a remote office, a small office. And then we're designed for really what kind of throughput that they need at these sites. So taking in consideration total user count at each location, the applications that they're running. And then we're designed for resiliency. So for example, at the headquarters, we'd consider, if you look at the gold site, maybe they have dual DIA or dedicated internet access connections, which would be a fiber-based connection. Maybe even they require some kind of failover like a cradle point there. And then we'll get into defining the business policy rules, so setting up profiles for each site type. So that makes it easy when you load all the information in the orchestrator, deploy the SD-WAN appliances, you know what kind of business policy rules you have for each site type and for each class of service. And for unified communications as a service, typically 8x8 defaults right to real-time audio and video. It's a really simple and easy deployment. And as you roll out new sites, you can push out those profiles through the SD-WAN orchestrator and you're ready to go. And just briefly down at the bottom here, lastly, you see that a lot of these solutions that we're talking about here with SD-WAN are really built for SaaS, for cloud communications. So it's really easy to deploy. A lot of these cloud providers are really right at the edge of these networks, like 8x8, for example, Microsoft. They're in very close proximity, a hop or a few hops away for any of the major SD-WAN service providers. So we're seeing some really good improvement in the actual performance, which meets that CIO goal of improving the end user experience. So really great success with that, and we're happy to talk to you at any time about your next generation wide area network and preparing for unified communications as a service.
Thanks, Scott.
Brendan?
So
Yep.
dovetailing off of the building the next generation, there's a lot of existing infrastructure in place that just is going to be removed when you move to a cloud UCaaS solution with Microsoft Teams and 8x8. So what our team also helps with in the upfront analysis is providing your IT team with a set of tools to help build a business case around what are my existing costs, what am I currently spending with my existing Avaya phone system. Maybe you have CenturyLink SIP trunking throughout the globe, you have PRIs, you have POTS lines. All of these legacy telecom services will be replaced when you move to UCaaS. And typically, this is industry average. We're seeing about 30 to 40% reduction in spend from the legacy voice telecom solutions to next generation UCaaS. And the end result here is providing your team with the vision of the globally unified experience from the laptop to the mobile device to the desk phone to the conference room, because that's really what Microsoft has built. But the existing Microsoft Voice solution is just missing certain pieces globally and certain legacy telecom features, which Oshin will talk about. So whether you're in the conference room, small, medium, large, all hands, the interface, the user experience is going to be exactly the same. So I'm going to turn things over to Oshin, and he's going to go ahead and talk to everyone about the solution with 8x8.
Great. So hopefully everyone can see my screen. So really want to just kind of set the scene for what we've been doing with Microsoft, what our vision has been, and kind of how we've actualized that vision and brought it to market. So we started off with a few things that I think are key benefits that we bring along with the solution. So we wanted to make sure that we could truly deliver enterprise cloud communications as part of this. And I think for our view, this is a better together type of approach, right? We're seeing here that there are capabilities that we can bring and bind tightly to your Microsoft Teams user experience, and that you'll end up with something that's maybe even better than the sum of its parts, where you're bringing the two organizations together, the two offerings together in a really effortless fashion and delivering on all of your enterprise communication needs. So for us, it was really important that it could deliver all the enterprise capabilities, and I think we've achieved that. We also wanted to make sure that it wouldn't be really difficult or challenging to implement. So you'd be able to implement, orchestrate, and continue to roll this out without feeling like you were doing more work than was necessary, or feeling like you were having to really get in and dig in on multiple platforms in ways that were not productive. We also wanted to make sure that the offering, it was more than just direct routing, or it was more than just SIP trunking, right? There's lots of features and functions, and we'll get into those, that people expect from a unified communications offering that dial tone doesn't deliver alone. And last, and probably most important here, we wanted a consistent experience for Teams. I think Microsoft's done a fantastic job on making the user experience in Teams a really pleasant one. I think they're doing a fantastic job on internal communication collaboration. And what we wanted to do was extend out the capabilities and the audiences you could interact with from within Teams without compromising that user experience, without creating a scenario where you're going to need a lot of change control, or where phone calls started to feel different than anything else you would do in Microsoft's world. So really quick, just to kind of set the scene on kind of what this looks like at a very high level. We have our Teams users and endpoints over on the left. So this is Windows, Mac, iOS, Android, Linux browser, physical Teams phone. All are fully supported, and we expect our customers to be leveraging a mix of those endpoints throughout their organization. Teams is linked to 8x8's cloud, and we're providing the PSTN access via our cloud. So for all of those users on Teams, if they're calling to and from the PSTN, 8x8 is delivering that globally for them. The other piece here that I think is really important is there tend to be quite a large number of position versus persona. Think of all of the phones in your organization that don't have an email address or a 365 license today. This can be especially prevalent for retail, manufacturing, distribution, or common areas, exam rooms and medical, stuff like that. And for us, there's a lot of phone use cases there that need to be accommodated in a transition plan. And we also need to make sure that it doesn't end up feeling or looking like an island. And in this scenario, 8x8 is acting like a bridge between those two communities and also then bringing the PSTN capability for those users. So to us, very important to bring these three communities together and be the glue that gives them the features and functions they need. So for us, really the plan was put Microsoft at the center of the picture here. We want Microsoft's UI to be the one that you're using, the one that your users have adopted. It is a go-to destination application, bringing a lot of things together. But 8x8 wanted to bring along enterprise telephony. So whether this is support for analog devices. So if you have, ATAs, faxes, any of those traditional type of requirements, 8x8 has a full suite of applications for that. And we can fully support and bring those in and make them a natural part of the environment as a first-class citizen, with calling between them and Teams users and vice versa. So your enterprise telephony features and functions are all supported, your legacy devices are supported, and you're not needing to kind of go and find yet another solution for that. Integration, so we have 20 plus integrations into the CRMs, ERPs you all know and love. So Salesforce, NetSuite, ServiceNow, Zendesk, Microsoft Dynamics, and a whole host of others. This is really important. I think either this is part of the aspiration in changing out from an older system to gain these technologies, or you may have this today with your on-premise system and you want to make sure that you could continue to provide that to the users as part of a transition plan. So a full suite of integrations available here to the third-party applications while using our Voice for Teams integration. Global capability is really important. So for us, that's full PSTN replacement in 38 plus countries today. We offer local in-country DID numbers in another 96 countries, and we can offer toll-free in 122. So from the point of view of global organizations, we have an ability to deliver at a footprint that I think is pretty much unparalleled. And in countries where we can't deliver a full in-country experience, options for bring your own carrier and a seamless integration of that into the environment. Analytics to us means more than just CDR or basic reporting. So we have all of the CDRs, that type of information that you'd be interested in. There's also some really nice work group analytics. So for basic call queue, hunt group, ring group, but then we also extend this in, and call recording comes in under the label of analytics. Things like speech analytics, transcription, sentiment analysis, all of those use cases can be covered as well and are available for UC, Unified Communication users, and for contact center users who are leveraging Teams. And then finally, contact center. So this is anything from customer facing, maybe it's a service related, it could be sales related, or it could be an internal audience with an IT help desk or an HR function being serviced via contact center technology. The important part to us, I think, is that every user in the org may not need one of these segments, but many users will need one, or they heavily rely on a user within the organization who needs these functions. So to us, this is the supporting cast of capabilities that we're bringing along and offering. And we really do believe that with this better together approach, it does elevate and it makes Teams a really strong, beyond viable, a really strong option for your migration to an enterprise communications platform.
And hey, Oisin, I don't want to break your flow, but I just want to point out to everybody that 8x8 is a Gartner Magic Quadrant leader in two categories there. So contact center as a service and unified communications as a service. You're probably going to say that later in the presentation, but just want to reiterate that on this slide too.
So I think it's a great point to make that, these are two areas of really strong competency for us. And so I think the fact that we have a long history being able to deliver both in the UC and CC area and combining that with our Voice for Teams approach is really powerful. So I think for me, the takeaway, and I won't read through all these bullets, to kind of recap some of the information on the slide, but to us, these are the areas where, as you look to roll out Microsoft Teams, your organization may be looking for help and may be looking to fill gaps that may be there with the out-of-the-box Microsoft. The beauty of, I think, this offering is that we're able to offer all of these at once. You're not going and trying to find 6 different vendors to plug each of these different areas. And I think that to us is really important, along with the last point of the consistent experience for the users, which we'll jump in and show a little of here. So let me jump out of there and let me come into a screen where we have Microsoft Teams. So it's important to set the scene here. The integration we've done is a really deep integration. It's done on a cloud to cloud level. So when you're looking at the screen here, on the right, this is my Teams application. I happen to be a Windows user. And on the left, you're actually looking at the screen of my cell phone, and I happen to be an Android user. Whether it's Apple or Android, Windows, Mac, or Linux, the desktop and mobile apps are fully supported. There's no bot required. There's no plugin. You're not being forced into going in and doing this via, a browser extension or a Chrome extension. It's the natural Teams user experience that folks would be expecting. Taking a look here within the desktop application, the user can see their number. So this might be a number you've ported over as part of an onboarding to 8x8, or maybe you're a new hire in an organization that's been with us for a while, and this might be a newly assigned number. So your real world number is ported or created within 8x8, and it's automatically pushed down into the back end of Teams for you. Here in the call history, I want to just pause for a second. So I talked a little bit earlier about these 3 communities. So for me in my call history, I can see Bobby Charlton. That's a Teams user, and I can call to Bobby. Bobby can call to me, and it's right here within Teams. I also have 1002. So this might be a loading dock phone. It might be a lobby phone. It's a non-Teams phone within the organization. They call to me. I can grab it here. I can call back to them right from this same interface. And then we can see I have some wireless calls and some other PSTN calling that's been coming and going here. To me, it's really important. All of those 3 use cases, they're serviced naturally and normally within Teams. I'm not having to do something slightly different or think about if I need to call a phone that's not Teams, should I do A or B? I just use Teams the way it was intended, and it's a very seamless, fluid experience. So as the user is kind of sitting here within Teams, what we'll see is the call is coming in and alerting in the mobile app, and we also get a toast pop-up from Teams, and we can answer the call. Again, very, very simple point of view here, but there's no additional pop-up. It's not jumping into a different application. It's just Teams as Microsoft intended for the users, and all of the call control and functionality you'd expect, up to and including consultation calls, are available for you here as a user in Teams. So the whole user experience is very, very relatable. If you've been using Teams to make and take internal communications, the addition of the voice piece here is seamless and easily understood without a lot of change management. So jumping on here to kind of talk a little bit about how we're dealing with this from the perspective of going, oh, give me 1 second. My mobile app is gonna upset me and not come out of the way here. Give me 1 second. So from here, I'm going to jump in. I want to show a little bit of what this looks in a world where we'd have some integration with something like Salesforce. So for a user who might be using Salesforce and Teams, then we want to be able to present an experience where that user can interact with both of those things. So for me, I have Teams here on the right, and I have Salesforce with the CTI plugin on the left. So this is, again, no install. I simply have Teams running, and I'm opening Salesforce in the browser. There's no further app installed or created here within the desktop environment. Call comes in, and again, we're going to see a call alerting in Teams. We're also seeing the call alerting and screen popping in Salesforce. The user can answer the call, and we can see here now that the record for this caller has popped in Salesforce. I might minimize Teams, continue to work away there. In my case, perhaps I want to begin to record this call. I can click on the record button, and that's going to begin recording this phone call for me. And I'm dealing with that customer, perhaps reviewing some of the records in Salesforce. And then if I need to or want to, I can go ahead and hang up on the call. And so I'm ending that call here within Salesforce, and we're going to create an activity record for that call as well. So the point of view here, I think that's really important, is that we have an ability to not just screen pop in Salesforce, we're also able to automatically create activities in Salesforce, but then we're also adding call recording. So to me, this is where really we're drawing a broad differentiator between what you would get in an environment where you're just plugging a SIP trunk into the back of Teams via direct routing, and what a true enterprise platform will bring with the CRM integrations, call recording, and all of these other capabilities bundled in. Then last little piece I just want to hit on here as we kind of looking through some of the capabilities. I want to just talk a little bit about analytics, reporting, and some of those capabilities. So for 8x8, we have a full range of call recording, quality management, speech analytics. So for me, I have an ability here to have all the calls recorded, to get them topicked and categorized. So for here, I might be interested in calls that are related to incremental sales. And I might further want to look into calls that have ice-breaking type comments in them. So things like, did you know, we now offer, comments like that that are made by users. And we want to understand how often they're speaking about things like that, where in the call are they speaking, and what are the outcomes of those calls post that. So an ability to kind of deliver a full range of analysis on not just how many calls were made, but on the content of those calls. And so we can click into an individual call here. We can see a full transcription for the call. If I click here, it will bring me to the point in the call where the icebreaker was used. Would you be interested in? So this is an indication that an icebreaker has been used in this call. This is fully customizable, so you can add your own topics, categories, keywords in here. It comes out of the box with a whole range of both sales and service related items within it. To me, this is really a huge magnet sitting above that haystack. It's pulling all of those interactions you'd want to think about right to the surface, and it can really be helpful. Traditionally seen more in the contact center, but I think we're seeing a lot of use cases in inside sales, in other areas that maybe are covered by compliance, or where really the content is more critical than the duration or the other traditional parameters you might measure around a phone call. So again, technology like this, seamlessly part of the package and available as an add-on or as part of your initial delivery from us. For folks who need these type of capabilities, again, bringing it all under one roof is a very powerful option. And then lastly here, let me jump in and show just a little bit on an analytics perspective. So this is some contact center analytics that we might run for folks who are leveraging contact center as part of what we're doing here. So we have charting and graphing here. I'm showing real-time updated reporting for the last month on how often these calls are coming in. So if I want to hide certain metrics, edit them, and this is fully customizable. So I can come in here and edit the individual charts and graphs, change the columns. If I prefer line charts to bar graphs, all of that's available. And this is part of a really substantial suite of intelligence here on this. So you have everything from detailed reports at transaction, kind of call leg level, to summary reports on agents, on queues, on the performance. And this is backed by a full suite of APIs as well. So Scott, I'll pause for a second. I don't know if any comments you want to throw in or any mention you want to make at this point. I know I'm going through a lot of stuff pretty quickly here.
No, just hopefully people can see that that contact center component that 8x8 has developed is definitely industry leading, and it's all built into the package. It's good stuff.
Okay, and then just lastly, just to show really quickly on the contact center agent experience. So if we have a contact center agent who is processing here, they may want to go and take a phone call that's going to be coming in and use Teams as their endpoint. And so as I kind of make a call here, I'll have it come into the contact center. And so here in a second, you should see we'll have a call holding. Give me 1 second. Okay, I think that's some hold music. So I have a call here holding within the contact center. The agent has full visibility of what's going on. And as an agent now, if I go and make myself available, we're going to have the call offered, and it's going to come and be offered through into Teams, and I can accept the call using Teams. So we're leveraging Teams as the endpoint for the call here. The agent has full capability to either manage the call in Teams and within the contact center. So all of the features and functions of the contact center software are available to the agent. They're leveraging Teams as their endpoint for the call. And in this case, I'm showing this integrated into a lightweight case and contact management system that 8x8 can provide. But this could equally be Salesforce, Dynamics, ServiceNow, any of the 20 integrations that we talked about earlier. So from that perspective, again, just understanding that if you have Teams, it can be both leveraged from the UC perspective, and it can also be the agent, the endpoint for that user operating as a contact center agent as well. And so I know we'll have a little Q&A to go. Really just wanted to kind of give you guys a sense for the user experience, how that looks and feels. To us, I think the really important part is that it is seamless. You're taking all of your UC actions from within Teams. We're not interrupting that experience at all. And then on the administrative side, there's a very simple and easy to use orchestration panel that we're going to be able to push the users into Teams for you, automatically configure them. So as part of that, just to mention, there's no SBCs you need to provide. You're not needing to go and configure direct routing. All of that is managed by the Voice for Teams offering from 8x8. So really all you're doing is going into a web panel, clicking a synchronization button, validating the synchronization suggestions, and it will do all of the configuration in the back. We're managing, scaling, and maintaining the SBCs and all of the other infrastructure required to make this happen.
That's awesome. Thank you, Oshin. And I think what we just saw was kind of 4 or 5 different user types within an organization that are kind of power heavy phone users: the contact center, sales, someone in administration, or just a general user who's just going to be placing and receiving phone calls right out of Teams. And what Oshin, I think what everyone saw was a unified experience for that voice, the cloud PBX piece, which 8x8 can deliver globally and replace all the legacy infrastructure from a Avaya, Cisco, Mitel, or a host of different other PBX providers, which most enterprises have. It's not just a single solution. So replace all of them under a unified experience with Teams.
Absolutely. And Brendan, I'm passing to you, I think.
Thank you. So the next piece of this, I'm gonna let Mark do a quick introduction from DGI Communications. But before he does, I do want to say, so Macronet is independent, right? We work with many different service providers. On the AV front, we interviewed and spoke with many different AV integration companies before aligning ourselves as a partner of DGI. We are an exclusive partner of DGI, and part of our partnership has been just globally rolling out successful clients. And so far, we've done hundreds of conference rooms across 15 plus different countries around the globe and had nothing but success. So with that, Mark, go ahead and tell us a little bit more about DGI.
Well, I don't know, it's hard to compete with that accent by Oshin, so I'll do my best. But
your Floridian accent.
My Floridian accent's not going to carry much weight compared to that one. So, but no, Brendan, team, thank you guys so much for including us on the webinar here, and excited to be part of it. And again, DGI, we are an audiovisual integration firm, but we're more than that. We're also a large format printing company. So we tend to create space. Our tagline right now is connecting people to space. That space might be in the conference room, and it might be in the home office. It might be in the classroom. It might be in the multi-purpose conference room. But our goal is to leverage whatever unified communication platform you have and provide that one-touch experience, so you can get in there and present, or you can get in there and have a video call or an audio conference call. Whatever the case may be, our job is to simplify the user experience in that conference room, make sure that the hardware you've chosen is going to sound good, number one, and also whatever it is you're looking to do in there from a presentation standpoint, it's easy for a user to come in regardless of their laptop, manufacturer, and just come in and present. Don't need all these different dongle connections to connect your HDMI, right? It could be as simple as a wireless connection through Teams. And so, our job is really to create that space and make it very user friendly. As Oshin showed you on the back end, a lot of that integration is happening in the back end. Same thing with an AV system like Brendan's showing you here in this conference room. There's a lot of things going on to make it work, but the user doesn't need to know all that. The user just needs to walk in and hit one button. They invite the room through Microsoft Teams or whatever calendaring service they're using, make it a Teams call, walk right into the room at 3 o'clock, hit that start button, and they're right into that meeting like they were at their desktop. So that is our goal here, is to make space and connect people to it. So DGI, we service, we support, we design, and then we install. Obviously not in all that order, but typically you're designing the system up front with the client, and then we're implementing it, and then we're servicing and supporting it. So
Awesome. Yeah, and something we've heard a lot from our customers is the answer to why they're deploying Microsoft Teams rooms. A lot of people see Microsoft Teams as their future vision for collaboration technology across all different types of endpoints across the globe, because what's happened over the past 12 to 24 months, as everybody knows, workforces are becoming more and more remote, and if you have some users using WebEx, some users using GoToMeeting, some users using Zoom, some users still on some legacy life-size video hardware or Polycom endpoints, the collaboration experience becomes very disjointed and people don't feel as connected. And so with Microsoft Teams, a lot of people are Office 365 customers today. They get Microsoft Teams for free. It's a very easy solution to roll out. You click the application, push it down to the end users, and all of a sudden you went from having a disjointed collaboration experience to a unified collaboration experience. And bringing that back into the conference room, Cisco, Lifesize, Polycom, their old codecs just don't work with Microsoft Teams, period. There's nothing you can do to get them to interoperate. So the only way to deploy a Microsoft Teams room is by replacing your existing AV infrastructure and delivering a one-touch join experience from there. So what is in a Microsoft Teams room? And Mark, feel free to chime in if you have any further comments once I go through this, but this is my only slide with just words, but I felt like it was necessary because so the codec or the engine running the Microsoft Teams room is a PC. Very simply, it's a Intel NUC PC, and that PC is just running a single application, which is Microsoft Teams room. And it is running a certain PC build and image, so you can't just grab any PC and throw it in a conference room, download Microsoft Teams room app, and it works. You have to download a certain image to the PC, have certain inputs and outputs on that PC working for it to actually function the way that it should. With that being said, there are certain hardware partners, which we'll talk about in a second, that have been certified by Microsoft and deliver Microsoft Teams room experience as you would expect. Not all of them have.
It doesn't have to be just Windows 10 as well, Brendan. You can obviously do a Windows IoT, as far as your image. So again, or your OS, excuse me. So
yeah, of course. Yeah, and from a AV environment, obviously, if it's a PC, everything's going to be USB for microphone, speaker, and camera. So those hardware partners might have their own proprietary codecs running, but it's got to be USB into the PC. And on an integrated environment, custom setup, the DJI team can help your organization build that auditorium or boardroom or all hands space so that all the microphones and speakers and cameras, which there could be 3-4 different mics and 3 or 4 different cameras working at the same time, are able to be controlled from that Microsoft Teams custom interface. And then the controller is a standalone device connected either on the network or via USB. And then you can share content 2 different ways, either hardwired or wireless sharing when you're in the meeting. And then once you're in the room, what are the features you get? So Mark brought up one-touch join meeting. That does not come just because you download the application. There's many things you need to do within Office 365 on the back end to make that work properly, and we can help you with that. But once you set up your room resource, you've set up the phone license with 8x8 and all the other pieces, you can walk in that conference room and have that one-touch join meeting experience. Corporate directory is built right into that conference room now. So you can call anyone globally right from that conference room in your corporate directory. And then if it is just a presentation only meeting in that conference room, you don't need to do anything different. There's an HDMI connection you plug into, or you do wireless sharing, and you can just share content locally in the room. And some of the new stuff that Microsoft's just rolled out with digital whiteboards and interactive TVs give a little more immersive experience. So if I want to walk up to a television and just start whiteboarding on that television, Microsoft just rolled that out recently. There's certain hardware partners that allow that as well. So Mark, before I move off this, any further comments?
No, just from a workflow standpoint, the ability to walk into any room and just wirelessly present. I mean, there's been a plethora of manufacturers that have come out with just wireless presentation gateways, which, from Barcode, Immersive to, many of those manufacturers. And basically that's built into Microsoft Teams. And some of the beauty, you can just walk into a Teams enabled room and wirelessly present whatever it is on your laptop through Teams. So there's value in that. And then from a workflow standpoint, obviously, we're not working as much in a conference room today. But you have a few executives that are in a conference room. They're sharing content to each other in that room. But at at any moment within the Teams app, they can easily invite somebody who's remote and share that content that they're viewing locally. So a very powerful product from, really workflow standpoint, presenting to escalating to a true collaboration session.
Great. And so talking about the kind of 3-4 certified hardware partners, the one that we didn't have on there is on here today is HP as well. HP has their own USB plug and play video conferencing solution as well. We have Crestron, which you've seen a couple of pictures already of what a Crestron room looks like. Crestron is definitely a well-recognized leader in the audiovisual space, and they've built some great solutions that integrate with Microsoft Teams for not only the small and the medium and the large rooms, but the more integrated spaces. Crestron's really the only partner that has built that integrated conference room experience, so you can have the full IP control in a all-hand space or auditorium or boardroom where you have in-ceiling speakers, microphones, multiple cameras, controlling audio and mic settings for all those different devices, and distributing audio out through the audience in many different ways. That's done by Crestron. And Poly's got a great set of products as well for their own purpose-built IoT device that Mark was talking about. And the Logitech setup, also a great product. Really, Logitech's focused on and same with Poly. They have the audio coming from the front of the room, so being closer to the audio source. The speakers are projecting out from the front of the room, whereas Crestron can give you kind of that more integrated feeling.
And as I'm viewing more and more rooms becoming a little bit, larger based on the COVID, I find that, more Pro AV integration might be necessary, and having the ability to set up an amphitheater, if you will, or a large lecture hall or space like that and make it a Teams meeting. Again, we can use that Teams PC as the codec, if you will, so that we're taking that audio and video signal in and out of that computer so that it's a Teams call. And then the folks in the auditorium are just using the professional audiovisual equipment in there as they would naturally, presenting to the folks locally and to the far end. But in essence, replacing that traditional Polycom endpoint or Cisco endpoint or life-size endpoint as the codec to a computer. And we've done it, hundreds of times.
Yeah, and so it's something that's great for IT teams that aren't used to those more advanced kind of proprietary codecs from a Cisco or a Polycom. These are just Windows PCs or Poly IoT device, so this isn't something that an IT team needs to worry about learning a new language. You do standard updates like you do to your Windows machines on a weekly, daily, monthly basis, and same would be for protecting your AV systems inside the conference room. So, Mark, do you want to talk about VR and AV design and kind of what different tools you guys use? Then we'll show a couple example conference rooms that the DGI team has built, both internally and for clients, so everyone can get a look and feel for what a great conferencing experience looks like. Yeah,
I'd love to. We've been audiovisual integrators for quite some time. Been doing this for nearly 20 years now. I think time is escaping me, but so it's typically been all right, here's a bill of materials, here's some great images, here's a great statement of work, right? And then we can show, the client, here's what you're going to get. There's a lot of parts and pieces in every system. One of ours, our business partner, CEO Mike Walsh, found this product called Modus. It's a virtual reality tool, but we're leveraging it for design. So we're creating space in a virtual environment platform to consult, to show the client what the space theoretically could look like prior to deploying it. We're using it for design as well. So we're basically taking that consultative approach, understanding what the client's looking for, and then we're designing it in VR to say, all right, this is the space. So we have many manufacturers and their hardware that's already in the VR library. And so as you can see this example here, this I think was a customer in Italy. This was a space in Milan for, I'm not sure we can say the customer, but point is they were looking at deploying a single projection screen, where you see the bottom image, and the sight lines just weren't very, rewarding for the audience to see, for everybody to be angled at that one center projection screen. And so we mocked it up with a few panels all throughout the space to give the audience a much better viewing experience for that direct presentation. And frankly, that's what they ended up going with. So you see in the top right hand view, that picture right there is the end result and the build, but mocking it up real time, within minutes in this VR software. We're doing this real time on a Teams call with the folks on the far end, because this Modus is a software. We can physically be in the virtual space, sharing that virtual space real time with the client, so they can say, hey, actually, that's a better view. We love seeing that, because within the virtual reality software, you can go to each space, each seating position in that audience, and give the executive or the real estate or the architect, give them a vision of what the viewer is going to see and what the content looks like from that angle. Very powerful tool. So we're doing this for many of those products that Brendan just showed, between Logitech, between Poly, between Crestron, between HP. We can physically build a space within minutes, show you what the microphone pickup pattern is going to look like in that space. So if you say, all right, this Crestron Mercury device is going to look good in the superhero room, but how is the microphone going to react to the space, and how is it going to pick up? And with our Modus VR tool, we can show you the bubble, the pickup pattern of that microphone, and whether or not it's going to be suited for the space. Very powerful tool. So this is one of our conference rooms here, and as Brendan is showing you, more than just the technology in the space, we're also creating the space. So you can see a vinyl wall mural on the side with a nice clip art image or pop art image, excuse me. Behind the the display is another vinyl image with the superhero, and the chest is all going right into the 70-inch touchscreen as well. So kind of making that vibe and feel, and really trying to fit the culture of whatever the company or organization is trying to achieve. And what you can't see is there's a fabric wall behind. So from the viewer, the field of view, well, there's an even better image of it, right? So that's an actual fabric acoustic panel. So DJI, as a large format print company, we can print right onto fabric, and behind that is a Ruxol, which is a fiberglass wool to help absorb sound. So now you take one microphone in that room, it's right above the TV in there, and so that one microphone can pick up a room that's about 30 feet deep, about 15 feet wide. And by acoustically treating the space, you allow that microphone to work a little, not as hard, to be sure to pick up that person that's 25 feet away. And we welcome anybody to a demonstration to hear that microphone and how good the acoustics treat the space. Here's another great installation showing a dual 109-inch LED video wall. So that's a 1.2 pixel pitch video wall with a beautiful marble table in downtown Boston. But again, designing the space, working with the architect, figuring out exactly what they want to do before it's built. It's a very impressive install there.
Yeah, and in one new product that we just developed and released to market is wearable headset for video conferencing. So this is for the hands-free workforce, whether you're in a manufacturing site, you're working in the field, in a hospital, telemedicine, or in a warehouse. You have the ability to jump into a meeting on this headset, and the person on the far end can see what you're seeing. You can see what they're seeing, what you can't see on this picture. There is a little video screen built into the headset. They can hear you and you can hear them. So collaboration in a space that requires you to have two hands, like if you're hanging from a tower, can be done very easily with the Vuzix headset so the manufacturer is Vuzix, but we've developed and designed different solutions for Zooms, for Skype, for Microsoft Teams to be able to use this headset.
I can't tell you how many times I've had my phone up there, switching the camera, trying to say, hey, take a look at this, engineer, so amazing tool.
And we can do a demo of this for anybody at any time as well. And then wrapping up the AV section and UCaaS section, I do want to talk about, this is a client story that's not actually, I had to remove names and kind of merge together some content to mask what was actually multiple client stories. But this is the client success story that we're working on today for companies in the enterprise space. So what we're seeing is all of these enterprise organizations are looking to get that unified collaboration experience, and Teams is just so easy to roll out nowadays. It's just, that's the goal, is how do I roll out Teams and how do I change all these legacy hardware and network solutions to become unified and high class of service and quality of service across all of my sites and for my home users. So the issue that we're seeing for a lot of our clients is just legacy WAN architecture, everything we've been talking about so far. This client had Polycom hardware in their conference rooms, did not interoperate with Teams. The Avaya phone system and contact center was very outdated. It was end of life, end of service. They had to upgrade it or move to a cloud solution. So what we helped them deliver was SD-WAN across all global offices, provided them with a 290% increase in bandwidth. So they really just had a single node, so one circuit for MPLS going back to their core for internet, and that's very costly and very inefficient. And by going SD-WAN over the public internet, a DIA circuit, we gave them a 290% increase in bandwidth. Yes, they had a little increase in cost, but a significant increase in performance, not only for voice and video, but for all other applications on the network. By implementing 8x8 voice for Microsoft Teams and the contact center, they were able to have voice unified. They didn't just have one instance of Avaya, it was many instances of Avaya, and it was now unified under a single solution. And then the DGI team helped roll out Crestron Flex AV hardware, which you've seen many pictures of on this presentation for that one-touch join meeting experience. And just touching on the international piece, so DGI will do the AV design and integration for all companies, any site in the US, but as it goes international, they've developed partnerships, we've developed partnerships with multiple different AV integration companies, one partner that will cover all of EMEA, and then another partner that will cover all of APAC. So in terms of building out that global experience, we've got great AV integration partners in those two regions that we can do the design for, and then pass them a bill of materials that they can go do the implementation of the kind of standard AV design that your team's looking to roll out. And the end result was a high quality voice, video, and contact center collaboration from any endpoint across any office. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Scott. I know Scott has received a couple of questions. He just sent me a message on. So Scott, do you wanna ask questions for the from the team?
Do we lose Scott?
Maybe. Scott's still muted.
Yeah, that would be mute there. But yeah, thanks everybody. Nice job with the presentations. First question, what size businesses are taking advantage of the 8x8 Teams solution? I think maybe Oshin, you wanna field that one?
Yeah, it's a broad mix. I would say, we're probably seeing most of the interest being maybe at the 200 employee and above size. I mean, we're open and happy to, work with folks at a smaller scale than that. But I would say a lot of the interest we've been getting has been from slightly larger organizations. And I think it's fair to say, just happens to be, I think, the needs that folks have, that we've seen quite a few where there's a broad international scope where they tend to be not just domestic. Obviously, the solution works great for folks who are domestic only, but I think the folks who got international have had some additional challenges and they've been jumping to the front of the line a little bit.
Yeah, and would second that just because we have a lot of large clients that say, I can't do Teams on its own because we have all these analog lines and things out there, it's complexity. And we say, well, 8x8's been doing this globally for a very long time. They can handle that piece. So that works out well. How quickly can an 8x8 solution be installed for a global business?
This is the piece of string question. So we can go as quickly as our customers can. I think we're not the limiting factor. I think there is a bunch of stuff to be orchestrated, things like line number porting, aren't run, as efficiently and effectively internationally as sometimes they are here in the US. So I would say, to give some examples, we've had organizations who had a real need and wanted to go very quickly, 3,000 users across multiple locations in something like a 12, 16-week project, but you really got to be ready to hit the ground running. It's got to be everyone really pulling and pushing together in one direction to get that done. Generally, for large organizations, we tend to see that between sequencing of things, and maybe you've got a Avaya, a Cisco, a Mitel, a ShoreTel, you might have 4 different contracts expiring, and we tend to see then sequencing projects based on need, and it might be something more like, a 9 or a 12-month rollout, but we can do it pretty quickly. So I think 12, 16 weeks with everyone being aligned and really focused on getting a job done.
All right, sounds good. Now this, go ahead, Brian.
And as people have questions, feel free to post them into the chat window on the GoToMeeting environments, and Scott and Sarah will field them. Sorry if I didn't mention that earlier.
Yep, no problem. We got another one here to me. Do you ship headsets? I think that one's probably, Oshin, you want to take a swing at that one? Do you guys ship them directly?
We do. So we have a range of headsets that we supply. I think what we've seen is that folks who are on teams or already on that migration path tend to be sourcing them from maybe some of the other providers. 8x8 does support a range of headsets. There are some overlap with the ones that are certified for teams, but I would say for folks that are teams focused, probably going through the more, their standard teams, Microsoft and equipment distribution is probably the way to go there. We don't have a specific teams related range.
Mark, you want to swing at that?
We found a lot of success with Poly. They make some great headsets. Jabra is another good manufacturer as well, but we've had a lot more success with Poly. And I'm on a Voyager 6200. Great unit. Brendan has a couple different models, right? As well. So, whether you want the boom, whether you want just over the ear, you want in ear, you want one ear, right? There's a lot of options. But Poly has been certified with Microsoft Teams, and they also have additional devices, as far as handsets, etc., that integrate directly with Teams. So Link is another great manufacturer as well. And there's a couple other manufacturers too that we can talk about. Crestron does have Teams devices, but more the headset stuff is on the Poly side.
Yep. Okay. Now this one sounds like this one might be directed to you, Mark. What is your international experience with installing conference rooms? I know you mentioned the Milan one, and I know Brendan talked a little bit about that. You want to take that? Yeah.
So really it comes down to design and project management, and really those partners across the pond. And in Asia, it's what separates us. Really, that partnership with those companies makes our job a lot easier as far as implementing them. So to say we've had a good run at it is an understatement. It's been very successful over the last couple of years with these partners in Europe and Asia. So really on the front end, the design, building that standards, right, making sure that everything is what the client's looking for, and making sure that the hardware we've specified is available, globally, easily, right, is part of the plan. And then the implementation becomes a lot easier, because those partners know exactly, what we're looking for, and they know the quality control that we make sure they adhere to. All right, it goes to, if there is a soldering connection, just little things like that. It all starts with a wire, and if the wire is not terminated properly, it could be a horrible experience. So from all the way down to that infrastructure cable to the pressing the button to showing the client how to use it in the space, we've really vetted out a lot of those partners along the years. So
yeah, and to add to that, Mark, I mean, I've personally worked on projects in Italy, Spain, Germany, UK, Poland, Austria, Singapore, Japan, South Korea, Australia. So just to name what I've personally done. I think you said Australia
twice because you want to go to Australia.
So in the partners, I mean, SLX is the partner we've used for a while in Europe. They're based out of Poland. And then Vega. Asia is a little bit different. It's not a European Union, so they need to source partners locally in each country in Asia. So Vega has a presence in Japan, South Korea, China, et cetera, so that as your company's trying to roll out this hardware standard, you have the template for design from DGI, and then you have all the communications and project management from DGI, and they can help work with these international integrators to get the projects done.
Yeah, and I think it's no secret that from a UCaaS perspective, 8x8's been a global leader for a long time. Everybody else has been kind of playing catch up there. So that's kind of one of the first boxes that we check on a global side is, what is your global presence? But, all right, we got one more here, a little bit more of a technical. How much bandwidth does a VoIP call take up? So when we go back to, I'll take that one. So when we go back to the design and we're looking at, how many users are in an office, usually we say about 80K per call. Is that Oshin? Would you back me up on that? 80K per call for just a standard VoIP call?
Yeah, I think that's a really good number to use. I mean, in practice with some of the next generation Opus ILBC, it can be a little narrower than that, but I think I much prefer being conservative, and the number in 80K is a great number to use.
Yeah, we typically use the high end just to make sure that we're designing properly from an infrastructure perspective. So Brennan, that's all we have for the questions. And just take another last look here. But for the attendees, we're going to reach out to you via email just to make sure we're shipping mugs to the right place, since everybody's in different places these days. But thanks for attending. Thank you to all the panelists. Brendan, nice job. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you everyone for attending. Mark, Oshin, and Scott, thanks for helping to run the presentation. And this is hopefully going to be a series. So we have other subtopics and more focused discussions. So expect to hear from us soon.
And if you have any interest in downloading the presentations you saw today, you can find those in the handout sections. Both of those presentations can be found there.
Thank you, Sarah.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
In there, I was like, oh, Sarah. See you guys.
Bye.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, thanks.
Thanks, Jamal.